I'll make a motion that we reconvene back into open session. Let the record reflect that one vote was taken and to seal the minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Next item is open forum pursuant to 42-46-6D, maximum 3 minutes per person. Is there anyone else that wants to sign to come up for open forum? Okay. First person is Paulette.
Paulette Hamilton, 437 Black Plain Road. And today's my last day as a town council person. So I just wanted to publicly thank you all for giving me a great 2 years. Thank God I made every meeting, so I want a gold star for perfect attendance. And seriously, I just want to thank the people of North Smithfield for giving me an opportunity to serve you, and tried my best. Wasn't always easy. It was very fun. It was very interesting, and we have a wonderful town. So I hope we can move forward in a spirit of very positivity and peace and collaboration, and I look forward to be able to help you in any way I can. So thank you all very much. I appreciate you all.
You didn't use your 3 minutes.
I didn't use it? Oh, oh well.
Doug Ogier.
Good evening, everybody. Again, this is my last meeting, so I first want to start off by thanking everyone for their support over the years. Those who were dissatisfied and shocked with my election results and have reached out, I just wanted to say that I continue to reach out. I appreciate you and all of your support. I also want to thank my fellow council members. It's been a productive term, and I thank you all for serving alongside me. With that being said, it was brought to my attention that an anonymous letter was sent out in the final days of the election, and there should be zero tolerance and no place for bullying and cowardly politics in a community like ours. This should be a community of excellence. If you want to attack my policies with accurate facts, then go for it, but that wasn't the case. And while it can be the nature of politics, at the end of the day, we are all someone's neighbor, family, colleague, friend, and/or are a resident of this great town. Slanderous lies and attacking one's ethics and character are serious and could lead to repercussions outside of local government. We need to get back to respectful dialogue and agreeing to disagree without it being personal or thinking there is some ulterior motive. I'm not afraid to speak up, engage in the tough dialogue, and listen to all sides. I do my homework and vote based on what I believe is in the best interest for the town, both now and into the future. And while I will not address the entire letter this evening, I do want to set the record straight on a couple of items. For the record, I am a registered independent and have voted on both sides of the ballot with a moderate point of view. I vote person, not party. Those who know me can confirm this. I am proud of my council record, which includes balancing the environment with economic development. And regarding the tree ordinance, enough is enough. That was intended for mass clear cutting, as was the preliminary discussion back in 2019 and covered by NRI now and taken out of context. I do also want to address the trash bin, since people wanted me to show receipts. I do have receipts. I only have one trash bin, and my wife and I did purchase a second recycling bin, and if anybody wants to see that receipt, I'll be happy to show it to them. Again, but it's not the time or the place to address all the whole letter and all of its falsities, and that'll be done at a later date and time. I really just want to end by saying thank you to everyone for listening, and I've truly enjoyed serving the town for my second term in the community. It truly is one of the greatest honors of my life, and I do want to thank my wife and my family for all the hours that they allowed me to spend dedicated to help making this town better, and that I hope that the next council could continue the great work that this council did. Thank you.
Linda Tebow.
Linda Tebow, 83 St. Paul Street in North Smithfield. I come here tonight to thank Paul Zelensky, our town administrator, for his 30-plus years of service to our town. He was on the planning board. He was a planner. Our journey began in 2001 after the power plant days in a special election. He didn't make it that time, but he sure did the next time. Then I served a term as town administrator, but mostly what I remember is the years between 2004 and 2008 when we served on the council together. In the second term that we served, I was the president and he was the vice president. Then in 2008, we had a terrible family tragedy. And because of that, Paul stood up to the plate and took the helm, and while I dealt with the tragedy. But as a friend, he called me every day to find out that if I was okay, did we need that, anything. And he was especially kind to my 95-year-old mother. She said, he's such a nice young man. And then Paul was there when we finally laid B to rest. But now, some of the things that I'd like to talk about is during the COVID days, since we didn't have a senior center, it fell upon the administration and volunteers like Kim to see about getting our seniors vaccinated, and they did a great job. They got us through that. I was a senior advocate. Every time I called Paul with a senior in having issues, he was right there, he responded, and helped me do something about it. I'm the wife of a Vietnam boots-on-the-ground veteran, and I can tell you the veterans loved. Paul never missed a Memorial Day parade, neither did Paulette, or a Vets Day celebration, and the exemption that he gave to the vets was greatly appreciated. And as a taxpayer, and a senior, I'm really grateful to the administration and Paul for that $4 million grant, which I hope we'll see something built in my time. If not, well, whatever. But what began as colleagues in public service to this town developed into a wonderful friendship. And I would at this time like to thank Noreen, his wife, and his family for sharing Paul with us. And I can tell you, and Paulette, I think you would agree, that it's a 24/7 job as town administrator. And so, Paul, from the bottom of my heart, a friend of mine told me a story that a grandmother told her, that your heart is larger at the top and narrow at the bottom. And that's to keep the memories, the special memories, always close to your heart. And so, Paul, I'll remember from the bottom of my heart all the memories we shared. And I thank you for your service to the town.
All right, Jim, tell me when I'm getting close to the 3-minute mark so I can talk fast, okay? Hey, all right. Surprise, surprise, I am also here to say thank you to a special person in the room, as tonight is our town administrator's last ever town council meeting as an elected official. I remember the first conversation I had with Mr. Zelensky probably about 15 years ago. We were still pretty new in town, and the matter of Rankin Path came up to us because it directly affected our neighborhood and the home that we were raising our family in. I made several calls at the time to all of our local officials, and I remember that one person called me back, and it was then town councilor Paul Zelensky. I had no idea who he was other than I saw his name on the town website. Mr. Zelensky listened to me, answered my questions, gave me his word that he would not make any decisions on the future of that property without working with our neighborhood group to do what was best for everyone. I remember hanging up and telling my husband, wow, what a nice guy. Since then, not only did Paul keep his word, I knew I could always call you with any town concerns. A few years later, my husband and I started getting very concerned with the high rate of childhood cancer that is still going through this town. Year after year, for several years in a row, we had another one of the children in our town diagnosed with a terrible form of cancer. I called Mr. Zelensky, and again, he took my call. And I spoke in front of this council with my concerns. Mr. Zelensky was there not only to listen to the concerns, but to take action and urge his fellow elected officials to do the same. When you're involved in small-town politics, everyone has something to say about you, both positively and negatively. I remember early on that someone said to me, that Paul Zielinski, he votes how the wind blows. I don't know why that always stuck with me. But what I came to realize is that you vote with your heart. You listened to the people in town, you heard the issues, and you voted based on what you felt was the right thing to do. I could go on and on about everything you have accomplished over the, 2+ decades that you've been an elected official in this town, but I think you have been reelected enough times to know how much this community appreciates you. When someone in a family is involved in politics, whether on the state or local or national level, it's a family affair. Your names, spouses, addresses, children, and overall lives get put in the spotlight, and for what reward? Not for the fame and fortune. You did it, Paul, because you wanted to make a difference in little old North Smithfield, Rhode Island. As my family leaves the small-town political arena tomorrow night with Jim's last school committee meeting, I want to say that as a family, the greatest accomplishment we have achieved while Jim was an elected official are the friendships that we have formed and the great people of North Smithfield that we have met over the past 17 years living in this town. When I first met you 15 years ago, Mr. Zielinski, you were just a name on the town website. Now, as we sit here 15 years later, you are someone who I am proud of. I am proud of all that you have given our town. I am proud of all of your accomplishments for everyone, young and old, and I'm proud of how much you have supported our school system, even though your children, Brendan and Kelsey, have long since graduated from North Smithfield High School. Most of all, I'm proud to call you and Noreen our friends. You are two of the greatest people we have met in this town, and North Smithfield is lucky to have had you for all these years. Now your wife, children, and grandchildren get to have you back. So congratulations, my friend, you made it, and thank you for your service.
All right, the next item on the agenda is a presentation of citation to Department of Public Works employee, Chris Creighton, for his 30 years of service. So Chris, I just want to thank you and acknowledge your 30 years of service and all your dedication to the town. This official citation be known to all on behalf of the people of North Smithfield, the Town Council and Town Administrator hereby present Christopher Creighton for the outstanding contribution and 30 years of service to the town. The entire council and administration takes pride in the effort and dedication that is behind such an accomplishment by one of its employees. Thank you.
I'm on the beat. We should take a picture of everybody. Yeah. All of them, just the family.
Yeah, do the family.
Can you guys sit? Here I am. You're here. I can get everybody.
Oh, okay.
No.
Come in.
Am I bad, Wayne?
I'm in. There we go. What?
Hey.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, discussion by council vote or other action on payment of bills. You have your packet in, your bill packet in if you want to review it, and if anyone has any questions.
I do.
Okay.
Of course. Okay, so this would be on page 2 of the check register. It is 2500650, the check number, and it is Woodlawn for Rhode Island Housing. I'm just curious as to what we pay to Rhode Island Housing. It looks like there's a redemption of an interest.
Yeah, so I can't see it, but I'm gonna assume that it's for, Rhode Island Housing had probably paid for someone's mortgage. We had to reimburse them back for overpayment. I'm not, you said page 2?
Okay, yeah, there's several, there's $3,490, $779, $1120, and then $2142.
On the check register, you said page 2.
Check register, page 2,
Yep, 25.
2500
Yep.
650.
I see 6,
Tony, is that what's in our packet
That's it.
should be.
for the abatement, or?
No,
Oh, you're,
Is
there's
that
a, there's a
the-
second
Yeah,
page
this
2
whole
and a
thing
second
from the
check register. I
assessor,
see
yeah.
it now. I see it. Yep.
It's like, I don't know if
Says
anybody
Rhode
else does,
Island
but I got like
Housing.
this packet.
Yeah, no,
Oh.
that,
The
yep,
assessor's
I
office.
have it here. There's
Yeah.
a second page 2 with, of check register. I didn't see that.
There's 2 page 2s.
two page 2s, I'm sorry.
That's why it was
Uh-huh, page 2 and page 2.
the first page.
Yeah, I can double check whether that's the case, but I'm pretty certain that that is reimbursing back Rhode Island Housing for an overpayment of, I'm not sure if it's commercial or personal, but it's reimbursing them back for that.
Reimbursing them?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so
It's
they-
just like if someone overpaid or mistakenly paid, we pay them back, same thing. This is something similar.
Okay,
Yep. But I can always go back, email you back just to make sure that that's the case.
okay. Well, email them, that'll be great, thank
Yeah.
you. Okay, then page 1 in the detail expenditure report, under town council stipends.
Yeah, so the, you mean
So-
under contributions?
No, the stipends, so we have a budget of $25,975, and we have a year-to-date expenditure of $875.
Yeah, so that's supposed to be reversed with contributions. I put in a ticket to eFinance about this, about trying to correct it. The stipends is supposed to be reversed with, the budget is supposed to be put onto contributions, and the correct budget is supposed to be put under stipends. I tried to fix it, and it's not, so I have a ticket out right now to have it fixed.
Right, because we also, so then it shows that we have under contributions an
Yeah.
overage of $26,000.
Right, so the budget from stipends is supposed to be on contributions. It's just some type of system error, so I have it, like I said, I have a ticket out for it, and I'm following up on it here and there.
So, let me ask you this then, do we have anything in contributions? 'Cause
Yes, the
What
expenses
was
for.
our budget? What was
Yeah,
our-
you guys are within budget. I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, the budget for contributions is around 60,000. I can tell you exactly what's been expensed out of it thus far, as soon as my e-finance loads.
So then this entire town council
Just the contributions and the stipends.
and the stipends?
Yeah, just
So the
those
whole
two.
thing.
Well, so
Finishes
pretty
the
much
tax.
the whole
Except
thing. All right, so then for the next payment of bills, you will be able to put that to 60,000, and then,
Yeah, well, I'm hoping so, because like I said, I went in and tried to fix it myself, like we normally can, and for some reason, it's not letting me. Me and Jerry Ann both tried, so.
okay, that's dangerous. Okay, and then the last one is on page 6 of the detail expenditure status report, and it is juvenile hearing board. And I'm just curious as to why there have been no expenditures for salaries. Aren't they supposed to be paid on a monthly basis?
Usually do it per meeting. I know in the past,
it's one
Tony,
of-
it was, they used to do it per meeting, so I don't know if they've had any meetings yet, or if
Yeah,
they've-
I'd have to look. It might be that it hasn't hit the, hasn't been reflected in the journal entries yet. Give me 1 second.
Okay, I just, these are small things, but, they're showing that there are still discrepancies and issues with either it's a system or it's human error or whatever, but it has
Yeah.
to be, we have to get these things fixed.
Yeah, it's just the time aspect of it. It's, a lot of it comes up all at once, and having to follow up with these things takes quite a bit, so.
Tony, can I ask a question? I know a little over a year ago, it seemed, up until the last budget process, reconciliations, we were behind. Are we caught up on reconciliations? Because I remember we had made the mention, or it was mentioned that after we got through the last audit, we should be pretty routine, up to date. So are we behind, or?
We were caught up, and then we had a vacancy within one of my positions. Me and Jerry Ann had to fulfill that vacancy. We've had a lot of vacations because you have to use it or lose it with with our vacation time. So I think we're a couple months behind right now, but we're not near where we were when I walked in.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just we don't have enough staffing is what it comes down to.
Okay. Thanks, Tom.
Yep.
Okay, I'll make a motion to,
I got a
oh,
question.
I'm sorry.
I just have one quick question. It's probably something that just needs to be explained, but to me. But if you look at number 9, it says on budget unit 101. It's on. I don't know. The page is not numbered,
No, they're not.
but it says REC Disc LLC.
Yeah, rec desk.
It's
Yep.
a $4,800 payment. It says credit card processing. So you paid a credit card bill, but it doesn't say what it was.
No, it's to set up a credit card process. It's to,
Oh,
it's
okay.
for, if I remember correctly, it's for Parks and Rec.
Okay.
Just to start using a credit card processing system that Kate Pasquarello is gonna we're gonna show her how to, that she's gonna reconcile, so that she can take payments,
I understand.
credit card payments
Okay,
instead of
perfect.
cash.
Thank you.
only. Mhm.
I'm good.
Okay. I'll make a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion to pay $3,664,279.73 for the payment of bills.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Discussion by council vote or other action on consent agenda. All items listed in this section are considered in one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless council requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda. A, town council minutes of September 3rd and October 21st. Communications, Animal Control Monthly Report for October. North Smithfield Fire and Rescue Monthly Report for October. North Smithfield Municipal Court Monthly Report for October. And North Smithfield Police Department Monthly Report for October. Does anyone like to have anything removed?
Nope.
You want to have something removed?
Can you put the,
October 21st, under, there's page 2 at the bottom, dedicating the gazebo to Maurice Bourget. I put in the minutes, he mentioned the request was brought forth by the North Smithfield Kiwanis Club, who he once served on. I want to change that to who Mr. Bourget served on, so it's clear. So I do want to change that.
okay,
Bottom of the second page,
Mhm.
and it goes on to the third.
the third?
I just want to change he to Mr. Bourget, because it looks like the town
Oh.
administrator served on that, not Mr. Bourget.
Yep,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, anyone like to make a motion as amended?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Old business discussion by council vote or other action on appeal for adjustments of EDUs for Village Haven. Sewer Commission Chairman, Mr. Dory, and Village Haven owner, Ms. Campanella.
What's up, everybody?
Hi.
So, you guys got the package, you got my letter. There is an error in my letter. It says 8 EDUs. After I did the multiplication, it should be 4 EDUs, so it's actually less. So, basically, we came before you on October 7th. You guys wanted a little bit more information on the EDUs. So right now, they're being charged 35 EDUs based on seat counts. So you basically take the seats in the building, there's a calculation for figuring out the rough water usage per type of seat used. So bar seats are different than like banquet seats, which are different than booth seats. Anyways, at the last time the building was inspected, it came up with 35 EDUs. But they have a unique situation where they actually have a water meter coming into the building, and because the building isn't used 7 days a week, for the normal hours that most restaurants or banquet halls would be used, their water usage, which we know for a fact is way lower than one would expect, comes in actually at 4 EDUs a year, which is significantly different. So after reviewing all the information, the Sewer Commission recommended that we, in consultation with the Village Haven, that we move from the cost, basically, of 35 EDUs down to 13 EDUs in relative cost. That would ensure that they have the flexibility to scale up if they need to, and that they don't bump against that 4 EDUs, because if you look at the numbers and you do the math, they're bumping right up against 4 EDUs. Sometimes they're over it, sometimes they're below it. But 13 is what historically they were way in the past, and they were more than happy to go just down to 13 and not all the way down to 4, which kind of protects our budget somewhat because we've already budgeted for the year, but it also allows them the business flexibility going forward. So we're coming before you and asking for a $15,178.46 reduction, because you actually can't change the EDUs. All you can do is do an abatement on their bill, because the EDUs are done by the ordinance.
Okay. And just to note that we're reviewing this, the main reason is because they have a water meter, right? Like
Correct.
That's how we can,
The water meter is the only reason we know
right.
what they're doing. Most businesses don't have the water meters, and if you don't have the water meters, we have to do the estimation.
Right, okay.
And I would probably say most businesses are probably making out on the estimation. If they're running like a regular restaurant, they're probably coming out a little bit ahead.
Yeah.
In this particular case, because Village Haven's limited hours on it's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
And Sunday.
And Sunday. And they're kind of like very limited hours on those days. They're well below what you would expect for a facility of this size. I mean, grossly lower.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a 30 EDU difference, basically.
Does
So-
anybody have any questions?
Well, I don't have questions so much as comments. I'm just concerned with having an individualized approach to this as opposed to a uniform approach. And I think I made mention of that the last time, that I think if we're going to do anything at all, we should be looking at the ordinance and making sure that exactly what you just said, where some people may be making out, some people may be being penalized.
Well, that's the next major project that we're working on, and we're gonna bring that to you. And I'm sure that whoever's on the town council at the time will, people that are making out, if we switched everybody over to water meters, so that there's a uniform
Right.
approach.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about $2,000 a house, plus a yearly bill for the maintenance of the water meter. Some people in bigger houses are suddenly gonna realize that their 3 daughters taking showers every day is very expensive compared to somebody at a smaller house with just 2 people. And maybe that's more fair. But, you know, that's a political decision. We will bring you the information once we run down the 2 different options, staying with EDUs or going over to water meters. But that'll be something we present to you guys, and you guys can make that decision. But that
And-
is on our plate. That is
Yeah,
on our
that's
plate.
good. I think overall, that's a, good long-term plan, but short-term, I think what we're going to find is that we're going to have a lot of people coming to us who are going to want the same reasonable reduction. Reasonable, I say, because there is justification, because there is some data to support it here. But we may end up having a lot of people who are saying, okay, but you gave it to them, and now you're setting a precedent,
And that's why it's a political decision for you to.
Well, no, it's not political. I don't think at all, because I don't,
It is.
I know these people, and I would say 90% of the time, we don't do anything political. We're just looking at following the law, and the
No,
law
what I mean
is the way it
this
is
a decision
now.
for you guys, as far as an abatement, it's a political decision for you to make, not for like the sewer commission to make.
I don't think it's a
I
political
don't think it's
decision. I think it's a
no.
business decision ultimately,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we're talking about, I know I spoke about reviewing the ordinance, and I think that
Yeah.
would make sense, and I agree with Councilwoman Hamilton. I guess my question then would be for the solicitor. If we were to move forward in revising the number, the abatement, would that set precedent for future situations like this? Or are these just one-off scenarios where, you know, the council can do as it pleases regardless of the information?
There's no
in front of it?
precedent.
Well, I want it from the solicitor.
No, I would just say that they justified it based upon the water meter. And I would think if somebody else comes before you with a water meter and shows that they're using less water than you're charging them, you would have a legal obligation to give them the same benefit.
So
So I
what's
think
that some
there's
precedent?
two things going on here, right? One is they've demonstrated evidence to you by the
Right.
water meter that they're using less than 35 EDUs, and it's been confirmed by the sewer department, sewer board. And two, you simultaneously should be reviewing the ordinance, which they're doing, and it's my understanding you're gonna take this into account, at least that Mr. Dory has indicated that in the future. So I think that if you offer people the opportunity, that if you get on a sewer meter, that might have a positive effect, I assume anybody can do that, that wants to pay for it.
No.
No? Then
No,
what
so-
determines
so-
whether you get on a sewer meter?
There's no such thing as a sewer meter. So
Okay.
what it is a water meter.
I meant a water meter.
So-
I meant a water meter, I'm sorry.
I'm not-
That's coming, that's when the water's coming in.
Yeah, we don't measure the stuff going out. We assume what comes in goes out.
So I think if, whether or not we get 100 people in here next week saying that they want an
Well,
adjustment.
let me correct you on that.
Just
That's not
finish.
gonna happen because
Just let me-
everybody's past their
just let
30
me-
days.
All right,
But next year,
just
you're
let me
right.
make my point.
Yeah.
I'm going along with you, I'm agreeing
All
with
right,
you, so you don't argue past the sale. So, whether you get 100 people in here tomorrow saying that they want the same thing, that's just the way it is. What's right is right. They're paying for 33, they're willing to do 13. It's just a matter of what's fair that we have to deal with here, and it's not their problem who comes in here looking for an abatement. That's not their issue. What their issue is, are they being treated fairly or not? And what's fair is fair, and we gotta abate them.
So then if we had several, that will affect your budget. And so the people that are now on getting sewer tax bills, right, potentially could have an increase in their bill, correct?
Correct.
Due to reductions that the council makes at various times.
Correct.
Because it's got to be absorbed by someone, it has to be paid by someone.
It has to be, because
So-
it's an enterprise fund, it has
It's
to
an
be paid by
enterprise,
the
so
ratepayers.
and I think that has to be made very clear, because it is an enterprise fund, it is a separate entity completely from the general fund. So we could not reabsorb it, we could not have a tax increase to make a difference, and it's going to be the ratepayers that are going to pay whatever we agree to.
But they're paying more than they should be right now.
Yeah, but I think what
But
Paulette's
I'm
trying to
talking-
say is like,
It's still gonna be a
everybody
deficit.
will then pay an increase.
Right.
If in the scenario you get a bunch of, until you can fix the ordinance, if say next year, 100 people come in,
Right,
and
like you said.
they can prove through the same process, and the council decides to, okay, follow the abatement process, you're gonna have a hole in your budget at some point.
If someone's being treated unfairly, then we gotta make it right.
See, one of the problems that we have though is, and this is also one of the reasons we landed on the 13 EDU amount, right? Is that we don't monitor people's water, like the sewer department does not monitor everybody's monthly usage. So typically when we have water meters and we monitor that for sewer, we'd be sending everybody a bill every single month. So for this particular circumstance, we're well above what we know they're using, which is about 4 EDUs. We're asking them to pay the equivalent of 13 EDUs. So they have that wiggle room. If somebody starts coming in and saying, well, I only use this many gallons a month, well, we're not set up to monitor people's monthly usage, because what if one month you have a very low usage, and then the next month you have a very high usage? We'd have to, in this particular case, we have, 7 to 8 years of data to kind of back it up. So this wouldn't be the same if somebody came in and said, At my house, I have a water meter, because some houses are on water meters. I only use this much at my house, you know. I think most houses are gonna be, some are gonna be below an EDU, some are gonna be above it. So for right now, I think this is kind of sui generis in a lot of ways, because you have so much data that they've been connected. But it is something we have to look at from a fairness perspective. You're not wrong. And it does open the door. So, and that's kind of why I was saying, this is a decision for you guys to make.
Yeah.
But in this particular case, there is a gross difference. This isn't like you're like a little bit above or a little bit below. This is a 30 EDU difference.
So now in 2024, obviously the consumption has really increased in, so what is the cause of that? So is it going to increase again next year? Like, because it's showing that I mean, obviously we're in COVID, so it was down, but in '24, it seems like it's really increasing.
So if you average these out, like, once you get up to 2024, you're at like 4.37 EDUs at the 500 gallon, and we're asking for 13. So even if they would have to, I mean, quadruple this in order to even get close to what we're gonna build them at. We're still coming out ahead on what we're building. I mean, there is a lot of flexibility in there.
And this is going to be an annual. This is every
This
year
is-
we're going to.
This is for this year. If they
But-
wanna do it next year, they'd have to come back before the
Well, they
town-
would. I mean,
Oh, I don't know.
they'd be
Maybe-
cready not
maybe,
to.
maybe they won't, I don't know.
No, let's go big, we'll go 35 instead.
$24,000 instead?
No.
I mean, okay, so maybe she will.
So,
But
I
my
mean, that's
point is-
something to think about too, you know, because like you said, next year, you could have an open a floodgate, no pun intended, to homes and businesses. Mhm.
Yeah.
And with no ordinance to back it up.
But I think if this is a yearly process, which it sounds like it would be, to the president's point, you know, they're at 533,000 gallons, I'm assuming. They were at 509 in 2017, so they're definitely trending higher. So if they continue to trend higher, it may not be as impactful. It's not gonna be like 251,000 that they were a few years ago. So it could incrementally increase itself up, so the difference may not be as drastic.
Yeah.
It's only 15,000 right now, but.
True.
I mean, even if they doubled this amount, you'd be looking at 80 DUs.
Yeah.
Which is still below the 13 that we negotiated with them to pay. So even if they were at 1 million gallons, they'd still be below the 13 EDU amount.
Just so everyone recognizes, the 35 EDUs is for 4.5 million gallons. They're using about 500,000.
Yes.
Just to clarify that, since we're talking EDUs,
big
people may not
difference.
know.
Big difference. Normally, we would deny these out of hand, and we would just recommend the town council deny these, is what we normally do. But in this particular, once we went over the numbers, it's just, this disparity is so shocking, that in some ways it is sui generis. It's not, I haven't seen anything like this before.
It's egregious.
It's egregious. It just, you know, but ultimately, it's your decision to make.
We have to think about this also. These people have come into this town, I believe they live in the town. They started Lucky Dog, which went very well. Then they worked with Rachel and her kids when Rachel said, you know, God bless them all, but left a Narradoe, or where we call them all branch yards, and they worked very hard. Early morning, what they've invested, and a time where a lot of businesses went down. And the way they scattered their time so they could still not have to do away with all jobs for locals, and to get this type of water, because in Woonsocket, on a little plane, that happened to me. I got a $500 water bill. And I said, are you kidding? One person? I can't use that shower. I go to my daughter's. $500. So they looked, and there was, in a lead, some pimp or something. I said, that much? 9 days in a row they went through. So okay, this is in a home, but now this is a business. And if we want to get businesses, and this gentleman with the figures, water-wise, I go with his numbers always. Because he usually doesn't present until he's pretty sure. Because he went over the numbers because of the seating, right? How many people are seated at the tables, etc. We have to help these people. They're improving on the building now, putting their sweat and tears into this to keep it, and I think we still have one more building coming out of them. If the plans go right, so we have to encourage, and I think our water department does a tremendous job. And if we have to do it every year, they're willing to come here after long days. We have to do it. But for them to exist with the way things were and improve, because you've gone in this place, blood, sweat, and tears. And I thank you for your presentation, and our water people are spot on.
Well, not perfectly spot on. I did put 80 EDUs when it should have been 4 in the letter, but.
Oh, well, listen, we're not
Not
gods.
perfect.
No.
All right. Anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. Let me find my spot here. I'll make a motion to approve the appeal for the Village Haven per the recommendation of the chairman of the Sewer Commission, Mr. Dory, to lower the EDUs from 13 EDUs. No, not lower the EDUs, lower the rate what we're charging.
Abate the sewer charge for 24
Based on
Fee.
the 8 EDUs,
Correct,
the 13 EDUs.
correct.
Correct, for a total of 15, for a total abatement of $15,178.46.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
No.
Mrs. O'Hara.
Yes.
Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
so
Thank you
much.
very much.
Thank you.
Discussion by council vote or other action on status/progress report of specific items. One, facility manager, Mr. Ogier.
I ran out of time. I do hope that the next council picks this up. I do think that this would be a value to the town. I think there is a chance to work with the schools in order to maybe have some type of assistance from there. I don't think it's going to be a full-time thing from there, but I would advise that the town continue moving forward with it, funding it in next year's budget. I always thought it'd be a multi-year project anyways. Just ran out of time. So
Thank you.
nothing new.
The next one is the human resource position.
So I sent out, hadn't gotten a chance to make a LinkedIn. It's a little bit more of a task than I thought it would be. But I did get more applications through Indeed. I haven't had time to sit and review them, given them some certain things that's going on in my department between the audit and everything else I've already talked about. So that's the point at which right now I'm hoping to review them at some point soon, possibly go over them with the new TA, and start up some interviews soon.
Yeah, I would say at this point that, it's been going on for a year, so I would say just hold off until the new town administrator comes in office, and then maybe we can get something going.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Did we interview somebody recently? Because I had heard that there was a candidate that looked really good. And I'm just curious why.
What
You
happened?
don't need to get into the details, just what happened, that's all.
I'll take it. Yes, we did interview a candidate, showed promise, not for municipal, or not for a private HR specialist.
Okay.
I don't want to go into too much
Yeah,
detail.
no, I don't want you
but
to, I was just
Candidate
curious.
has got a promising future, but the skill set didn't quite meet what we wanted. Now, if we wanted to invest time and bring this person up, I think there's a possibility, but I'm going to say what I said previously. I certainly would like the incoming town administrator to be in on these interviews, and because the incoming town administrator is the one that's going to be working hand in hand with this individual.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the update. Thank you.
Okay. Discussion by council vote or other action on Hallowell Review Committee. Mr. Porter. 1, full-service contract with VIII for Hallowell property, Hallowell Review Committee resolution revision, and membership for Hallowell Committee.
Good evening. At the last council meeting that I attended, you guys had tasked me with negotiating the contract for BH+A for the fill design services for the Hallowell property. I've passed that draft along to you folks. I've reviewed that with the town solicitor. The Hallowell Review Committee has reviewed it and recommended it at our last meeting. So what we would be looking for is a motion to approve the contract, and then a motion to have the town administrator sign for execution. And I'm also here to answer any questions if you have any about the contract.
So did the planner have a chance to review the contract?
He has not.
Has the town administrator-elect had a chance to look at it, or been brought up to speed on the project in total?
I don't believe that has been disseminated to him either.
So what's the dollar amount we're looking at here?
It is for a,
Is there one?
yes, there is. You gotta find it. It's, I'm sorry that it's buried in there. It is for a total of $396,000, as they outlined in their previous cost estimate to do the work that's outlined in the master plan.
I'm just going to say in the past, and that's why I kind of wanted to hold this off, is that we never would really sign a contract that would go into another town administrator's or another council's timeframe, so that's why I was trying to hold this off. So, I mean, I would just ask that we can hold this off until we have the new administrator look at it and the rest of the new council on board.
I would
Planner?
say
Right,
that I
planner
think
hasn't looked at it.
I respectfully disagree, Madam President.
Okay.
Only because I don't know. I've heard from a lot of people in town. They really are excited for Hallowell. You know, for the future expansion opportunities. The ability of what you can do down there, not just today, but in the long term. And I worry that if we pause it, it may delay it even more than just the next meeting. And when we look at it here, I mean, the BH&A has put together a timeline that relatively you could get a shovel in the ground around this time next year. And that would really allow us to start moving on that grant. I mean, we have to eventually, submit the budget and start drawing on that grant. I mean, I don't want us to eventually run into a situation where maybe we lose it, right? Because of our inaction ability. And I know we've spoken up here about we govern until the last day we're in office. And I think punting now is a disservice. I think there's going to be a majority up here that are on the council that will carry forward between you, Madam President, John, and Claire. And I think we should continue to move forward. I think the committee's worked really hard at this point. And I just think I think we just shouldn't let the momentum die down now. But I'm just one person.
Well, normally, though, don't we have the planner review most of the time? No?
I don't think so.
Nope, not when it comes to this?
Not for contracts, I don't think.
And
If it alleviates the council a little bit, I look at these contracts at least once a month. I've done my due diligence. I know the wording that protects us as a town and as a client. So I would hope that, given the past 3.5, now almost 4 years of service into this Hallowell project, and as a registered architect for the past 15 years, that know that I'm also working in the best interest of this town, and that these contracts are really very standard. I've reviewed it with the solicitor. We are protected. I don't anticipate anything going sideways on this, because this is what I do.
And as Mr. Ogier has said, there's 3 of you are still going to be sitting up here. So I'd really like to get my foot back on the gas pedal to continue moving this forward. I know winter time for architects tend to be slow, so the sooner that we can get that moving, I think it would be best for everybody involved.
And also, just to clarify one piece, the plans that most of this contract would be putting into place would be starting off of what we already reviewed in the plan that sat through the meetings from last January.
So I have a question on that, though, based on that.
Yep.
Which building are we building?
Well, the council can determine the total dollar amount of the building it wants to build. This is just to continue the process into the next phases. Jeff can probably speak more articulately than I can on the planning of it, but.
So any schematic designs and things are not based on a square footage at this point?
No, they are. So what we would be continuing is a further development of the master plan, going into schematic design and design development construction documents.
Yep.
At any which point, if the council decides that, okay, you know what, $4 million, that's our stopgap, then that's what we're going to design to. If it's determined that later that we find additional monies to really have a successful building, as the architect has outlined, then we'll go up to the 6,600 square foot building that's been presented to this council.
So the 396 that is this contract total is coming from which grant?
A $4 million grant,
The $4 million grant?
Yeah.
which we've done nothing with. Haven't even submitted a budget yet.
Yeah, that's
So,
dangerous.
I mean, we all talk about how great that grant is, but the reality is we've done nothing with it. So, I think if we're gonna set the precedent of not doing anything, then I don't think we should even take up the police station contract tonight.
Well, that we've already signed.
No, but
I
that-
mean, but we've already
But
talked about
that's-
moving forward with this too. I mean, we made a vote
But
at the
that's
last, it's just the reality of it, though. We made a motion at the last meeting to move forward with Hallowell, and now we're saying, let's stop. I mean, we've done it before, the town has done it
It's not
before in
apples to
2016 with the
apples.
police.
No.
I'm not gonna bring up the past for the purpose of it, but a lot of times, this town has a history of not moving forward with things, and then a new council comes in, whether, I'm not litigating the past, but things get disrupted, and this would be a huge missed opportunity for this town. And I can't look a voter in the eye in the future or at any point and say, sorry, I could have done something, but the council decided not
Right,
to. I
so
just think it's not good.
Explain to me in layperson's terms what we're getting for 360. We're getting a complete schematic design.
At the end of the day, when BH+A is done going through their 6 months of schematic design development, and construction documents, we're getting a set of biddable documents that can go out to contractors so that we can get this built. At each point of schematic design development, and about probably 75% complete of construction documents, we are expecting to have a cost estimate done at each one of those stages to keep us in check, in line with the number that we're working with.
But I guess maybe I don't understand, which building, which square footage? We were given 2 options, right?
Correct. So
And then
right-
one that has another opportunity to add on, right, which is the 6,600, I believe?
Right now,
square foot?
my hope and my thought is that we are going to, because we were recommended by BH+A to move forward with a 6,600 square foot building, is that we would move forward with that. We would have that building cost estimated at each phase of the process. And then when we find out at the end of schematic design and design development that if we're over or under budget, that we would put into the bid documents alternates. Alternates are essentially something that can be added on at a later date. You can elect to move forward with them. You can elect to just not move forward with them.
But wouldn't it make sense to know what building we're going to build before we begin this
Well,
process,
that-
instead of having to, value engineer it to death after?
No, that's why we've been saying to move forward with the 6,600 square foot building. And then once we get the cost estimate through schematic design and design development, we can start to draw a hard line on the building and have an alternate. So if at the later date we go forward with the new administration, with the new council, we find that there's another grant out there that we can benefit from, then we're going to go after that. But based on the recommendation of BH+A to have a successful community center, we're going to go with this, start with the design of the 6,600 square foot building. And then once we move forward, we can draw that line on the building if we need a lob, because that's the only way we're going to save money is if we lob off square footage. It's not going to be in materials. It's not going to be in programmatic elements. We can delineate that line in the documents and say, okay, this is our base bid. Here's an alternate. And this part of the building is going to be an alternate. So if we're successful in getting more grants, we can do that.
So just so that people know, if this is approved tonight, we're actually going into the project with a deficit, right? Because the building from 4 million to the 6,600 is about a $2 million difference, correct?
Yep.
So we're already going in with a deficit.
But we're also been working on this plan to be flexible and also be phased, so we can do it appropriately and do what's best for the town.
So I would caution against that for one reason, to Jeff's point. BHA has actually presented like 6 different options for Hallowell, up to $18 million with a pool and a gym, all the way down to the $4 million. So
With the pool.
I think what Jeff is saying, just like we did with the police station and Tecton, as we're going through schematic design, we have the option to say, okay, well, this isn't really working out at the 6 million or whatever, the 6,500 square foot. Let's pare it back to the 4 million as presented and is already been presented by BHNA. And I think that would also allow us the opportunity as we're going through this process to seek out additional funding, right? It doesn't all have to come from the fund balance, or it doesn't have to come from a bond. I know how in the past has talked to the Boys and Girls Club and the YMCA. There's probably potential for other funds out there through sponsorships, et cetera. I've seen other communities do it very successfully. I think it's going to require a little bit of work, but I think just focusing on the $4 million is potentially doing this project a disservice. And I think we can definitely scale back if at the time that the cost doesn't seem feasible right now, and put together a plan of a phased approach, which this process would continue us down that path instead of just stopping now and then waiting and see what happens.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
It sounds like what you're saying is whether we do a 1,000 square foot building or a 6,000 square foot building, we have to take this next step.
Yep.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
But we have money, we have 4 million. We don't have
We-
6 million.
We have 4 million plus 1 million.
Okay.
So
But-
we're
but
getting closer.
Can the 1 million be utilized for
It will be used for exterior
exterior? That's what I thought, yeah.
recreation.
Landscape, trails, blah, blah, so it can't be used for this, right? So, I mean, I just want to make it clear when we're taking a vote that everybody understands what the ramification. I'm not against it.
No, I'm not saying that.
I'm just
There are plenty of stopgaps
cautious.
during this process where the future council can say, stop. We need to reevaluate. We need to rejigger the course that we are on. I'm here by resolution every month to give an update. I will be as open and honest as I have been for the past 4 years on this process, and I want it to be completely transparent, and I want everybody to understand how this process works out. As I've said, I've been doing this for a while, so I want it to provide my area of expertise to help benefit this town. And if I saw red flags going up, trust me, I'm the first one to be throwing that up. I would not have brought this contract to you. I would have said, no, we got to refigure some things out. But please know that as an appointed member of this board, I've always, and on the planning board as well, I've always made sure that we are, as a town, protected, because I see what can go wrong.
Nobody's ever questioned your motives.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
What did you say?
Nobody's ever
Nobody's
questioned his motives.
questioned, no,
No.
no. So, do we have a drawdown schedule on this? Is this the 396 over a period of what?
Yeah, it would align with the percentages in the schedule that's as part of Exhibit B. Schematic design and design development would be at 22% of the cost, and that would be over 4 months. Construction documents would be is at 38% of the cost, and that would be run for 2 months. Bidding is 3% of the cost, that's about another 2-month process. And then construction administration would be 37% of the total cost over the 12 months.
So can any of that $1 million grant be used for site work, or?
I've gotten the documents from I believe it's the, Mr. Zelinski, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I have the documents from the granting authority. I believe it's another grant through HUD. So we would also be completing those documents in conjunction with the planner's documents as well.
The $1 million is for passive recreation on the outside.
Right.
Okay, so trails, benches, shading, tree planting, nothing active.
Right.
But it's a huge improvement, so the $1 million will go a long way to finishing off Hallowell.
So we really can't talk about that $1 million as to cover a shortage of.
No, I'm just saying that we have 4 million plus 1 million to do a number of things on the property.
If there's no further discussion, I'll make a motion to approve the contract to BHNA for the amount of $396,000. Signature by the administrator.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Yes. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
No.
Yeah, the final copy for you.
And then the next one is Hallowell Review Committee Resolution Revision.
So this, this resolution is just an update. You have the original resolution going back to 2021, when the Hallowell Review Committee was first formed. This will allow the committee to essentially evolve into that next stage of kind of more of a building committee. It expands the membership to a couple alternatives. There's not really much else in there other than it drew some parallels from the old MBRTF in terms of really just overseeing construction and stuff, like some of the stuff Jeff was just talking to. Ultimately, the town council has full control. This is more of advisory in nature still, but that's really just the only major change. So everything that is essentially with the HRC plus these new responsibilities, such as overseeing building construction improvement project, make recommendations to the council, all of which are non-binding, the development of design, build proposal and selection and recommend award that meets the best interests, view recommendations relating to plans, specifications and details, looking at recommendations for bids, estimates, bonds, budgets, etc. So really just to help the council in that stage.
So oversight of construction and completion?
My hope would be is that would ultimately fall to like an OPM or something like that. But I think the idea there is that the HRC would help advise the council in those matters. I'll let Jeff speak to it, but that would allow the council to have another perspective. They wouldn't actually be overseeing the whole construction.
Oh, I'd be there.
I'm sure you would be, Jeff.
No, as far as oversight in construction goes, we'd be relying on our consultant, BH+A, to be there for weekly or bi-weekly construction site visits. They would provide field reports to us to give us an understanding of what's going on site. And I would hope that there would be 1 or 2 members to be able to attend the weekly construction meetings that are typically held on site as well. The oversight would also take a look at progress, the payment requisitions that are put forth by the contractor, and make recommendations based off the progress to the council for payment of their progress during construction. If there is an OPM that comes on board at some point in the future, that would be fantastic. They would have somebody they'd have boots on the ground every day. But that would, again, be a council decision to move that forward.
Did you review this, write this?
I worked with David to craft the resolution.
So I thought when we originally talked about this, it was going to be basically kind of merging the two
Exactly.
committees
Yeah.
together, and this is just adding
point.
two alternate positions. I don't see how that's working together with the other committee.
It just seems like we're kicking the multi-gen committee to the kicking them to the curb.
Yeah,
And
we're getting two alternate members to
So,
HRC.
I'm just gonna say, I have no responses for you because I did not have any partake in this. I do know that we have 3 open seats, and I believe the resolution is calling for 2 additional seats to be added and 2 additional members to be added. Who those members are the council's prerogative. If they're members of the multi-generational committee, that's your call. But the Hallowell Review Committee had heard Mr. Ozier's suggestions for the resolution, and we saw no issue with it. So if there was a merging of the 2 committees, that's all well and good. That's your prerogative to adjust the resolution to do that.
Let me just share my point, because I spoke also at the HRC meeting, and I've said it up here. I think there needs to definitely be collaboration between both. The terms are coterminous with the council. If the council decides that the makeup of the current HRC is not to its liking, it has the option to change membership, just like it does with any board and commission. So I think calling it, saying that it's not, it's kicking the other group to the curb, that's not the intent of this resolution. If we want to talk about who should be on that committee, by all means, I think there should be 2 council liaisons. I don't even know if that's all even feasible. I think if the membership is of a concern, then I think pause on the resolution and get a joint meeting between the HRC and the multi-generational room, and if need be, the council, and sort that out in terms of who wants to serve. Because if nobody wants to serve from the multi-gen committee, what's the point of adding seats?
Well, I don't think we should assume that no one wants to be part of it. I think there definitely should be some communication, but this only says adding 2 alternate members. They're not even actual voting members, so I don't see how this is
Doug,
combining.
I thought we added two.
Well, we had
additional
vacancies
seats.
already ongoing.
Yeah, we have 3 vacancies already, and I believe.
And you'd had 2 alternates.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think it requires communication, to the other group, and give them an opportunity to talk it through, figure out how we're gonna
Yeah, I'm fine with
meld
that.
the 2. If not, if they could dissolve for all we know, if they're not happy for whatever reason. But I think we owe them an opportunity to get all the cards on the table, figure it out, and then just move forward, so maybe we do pause on this.
Yeah, and maybe we can schedule a joint meeting between the 2
Sure.
and then see what kind of
Yeah.
feedback, who wants to be involved, who doesn't want to be involved, and,
Yeah.
because just to go ahead and saying adding 2 alternates, I just don't think that's,
I won't speak for those members, but I have spoken with a few of them, and I asked them to join us, and they have specifically said that they do not want to continue.
okay, so let's get a joint meeting so we can all get that on the same,
Okay, can we schedule that tonight?
well, I don't know,
Well, we're
I'd have
just-
to reach out to the other members and see.
We're just starting.
Can we
a
schedule
new
that
person.
tonight, council member elects?
No, I'm talking about the multi-generational
Oh,
committee.
right.
Madam
Nope,
President?
that's fine.
If I might say something, I think we're at a point now where the Hallowell Committee has done its job, the Multi-Generational Committee has done its job, and now it's time to say goodbye and cut everybody loose, put those committees to rest, and start clean. It would be much cleaner if we just created a new Hallowell Building Committee. And everybody on your committee, I would love you to be on it, believe me, I want you to be the leader of it, be honest with you. But nevertheless, I think it would be a much cleaner if we just started new. Get rid of both committees, they did their job, time to move on, and we start new with the Hallowell Building Committee.
Well, technically by resolution, the multi-gen and Hallowell committee have completed their task. The Hallowell's
right.
a little different because
Exactly.
we keep assigning them tasks.
Right.
So I think we did discuss forming a new building committee, and the idea is not dedicating specific seats to a committee, because then you're stuck, right? If the multi-gen dissolves or something, you're just constantly changing resolutions and stuff like that. I don't really have a fight in this anymore, so I would say just schedule the meeting and figure it out in terms of what the council thinks is best. But I would advise doing that sooner rather than later, because by not having committees, then the council would have to serve as the building committee.
Right.
So I don't know if it wants to tackle 2 buildings at the same time, if the council decides to dissolve both committees without a plan in place.
So maybe one of the first meetings of the new council, you know.
I would say keep the HRC going and the multi-gen going and then figure it out.
Until we get into,
Right,
yeah.
you don't wanna have
You don't have
a
that.
disillusion of everyone and
And
then
maybe the Hallowell
nothing get done.
committee can share information with the multi-gen, if they meet, can share information with Hallowell and go from there.
I mean, you still want to do a joint meeting so that some people can say yes or no, whether or not they want to move forward, and then
I personally think you can just call somebody up and ask them yes or no, if you want to continue, yes or no. I mean, I've had plenty of phone call conversations with other folks. I don't think we need a joint meeting for it.
Well,
I think it's
well,
just
I-
as easy as a phone call.
I don't know, though, I think, may I?
yeah, go ahead.
Because I think what Mr., I almost forgot his name. Mr.
Been a long
Beauregard.
2
I
years,
was gonna
right?
say Mr. Boschman, no, that doesn't sound right. Mr. Beauregard said, you know, if there is going to be a new, and I won't say improved, but a new committee, right? I think it requires everybody getting together and saying, yeah, this is a good idea, let's do it, so you get buy-in from the, you know, from the bottom up, right from the start.
Yeah, and
right?
then we would know how many seats we would need to.
Right, and then you do your resolution.
I mean, because basically all you're saying is 2 alternate members. Well, someone from that multi-generational committee, if they want to be on the Hallowell Review, they're an alternate. So now they're already feeling like they're
Well,
not fully
Kick to the
100%
still-
into.
There's still 3 open seats, though, too.
Voting seats.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'm just saying we're only adding 2. So
And Jeff, I would say a joint meeting is needed because for the simple fact that you don't want to just get up here and have the council dissolve committees and then people feel like their time was
That's right.
wasted.
Right.
So I think
That's
the
right.
message is a little cleaner.
Yeah.
Even though it creates more time, I think it's cleaner that way.
No, as you guys all know, government projects move really slow. Things are gonna get more expensive. We, as a committee, want to continue moving forward quickly so we can get the most bang for our buck. Because I hate to say this, we've been ping-ponged back and forth quite a bit over the past 2.5 years. And there have been resignations on my board because of frustration, simply because of that. So I would hate to lose any more good people that have volunteered their time for so often because we're continuing to be ping-ponged and there's no direction or decision.
No, I think what we're all saying is that we want to give you direction and that you have successfully completed your tasks. And we thank you for that, okay? But now we have to look at moving forward, what's the best thing for the town? What's the best thing to expedite all these things that we know we have to do? We've just committed to them, right? So give us a minute, relax. I think we're gonna have a good discussion. It may get contentious, but you know what? That's how you get through things.
Yep.
And then what you have is a better product in the long run, right? So the bottom line is the goal is to expedite this project and to keep it on track.
Yep.
And those are the kind of people we want to have involved in the process. So that's what we'll do.
All right.
All right, so I'll see as soon as I can get everyone involved for a multi-generational, and I can let you know with some dates, and then
Yep.
we can try and do it as soon as possible.
Typically the Thursday, we've been holding the first and third Thursdays for Hallowell, because I know second and fourths are a bit for the planning board, so those typically end up on a good date for us.
Okay.
And just as a side note, I do want to thank Councilor Hamilton, Councilor Ogier for the support and the time and the effort that you've given to the Hallowell Review Committee. It's truly meant a lot to me, so I want to thank the two of you, particularly coming upon the 11th hour of this council. And I continue to look forward with working with Councilor O'Hare, Councilor Beauregard, and President Alves as well as the new council members too, and the new administrator. So look forward to getting something done.
Good
Thank
team.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
North Smithfield Town Council in its capacity as, we have to open,
Yep.
we have to open the joint meeting, right? Joanne, can you take minutes for this at the same time, or no? For the. So we don't have to do roll call and stuff, right? All right, so now we're gonna
Make a
open the
motion.
joint meeting for the Municipal Building Review Task Force, Town Council sitting in the capacity.
Me?
Do you want to make a motion for that? Do we have to
No, I don't think we
make
need to make a motion to open the meeting.
No? Okay.
So the first one is discussion by council vote or other action on revised budget and revised scope for North Smithfield Police Station. Hi, Eric.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We're going to want the other slide up. Yeah. Good to see everybody again.
Okay.
All right. So the reason we're here is between our last meeting and this, Chairwoman Alves has received confirmation about available cash flow budget, which raises our capacity on this project to make interior renovation within reach. So strategically to do that, we'd plan on moving anything exterior related to add alternates, which would be achievable with an efficient design, low bids, or future phases. So if we want to go to the second slide. The other second slide. Yeah, there we go. So the budget has moved from I'm sorry, the prior second slide. Thank you. The budget has moved from where we were before at option 2A, which is 3 million to 4.5 million, to where we were in option 3, 5 million to 9 million. So obviously we don't have 9 million, but we do have 5. And I believe from our last meeting, Kim had captured the sentiment to make substantial impact on the building within our available budget.
Well, can we just say that that call had the chief on it too, and he also had voiced his concerns about doing outside work rather than doing inside work.
That's exactly right. Yep.
Okay.
So if we go to the next. Okay, so this is where we had ended up after the last meeting. So we met with Kim, Paulette, Chief, and our town planner as well, Mark. So we met regarding that revised budget. So this is where we were at the last meeting with this group. If we go to the next slide, this is where we are now. So I circled in yellow the budget changes. So we're at 5.94. The major change to that was there's not 2 million available in cash flow, but 4 million available in cash flow. So in discussion with the chief, there is the operational consensus that items such as EXT2, which is the parking lot, and EXT1, the Sally Port, could move into the add alternates in order to get the interior of the building renovated. So moving the exterior items to add alternates so we can focus on the interior. Anything like that could fall in a future phase, if necessary. Same with FF&E, which is SYS3. So other interior systems, SYS2, the fire alarm, the finishes, the lighting, those would be more efficient to be upgraded with a revised layout on the interior. So obviously this is what fits in the budget is up to sort of our final sort of estimating that would happen during the process. But our feedback from our estimator that's had initially come up with these is that he is a very sort of safe, conservative number. He's already built in a heavy 25% overhead and profit for the contractor. And there also is 15% contingency already in these numbers. So when we're looking at this, the base scope up at that 5.9, that does include a 15% contingency and sort of a heavy contractor fee as well too. So we also have feedback from our cost estimator that the Sally Port and the exterior work, those could easily be reduced in scope as well too, to sort of fit into our prospective budget.
But those are alternates.
Those are alternates.
Okay.
Yep, that's correct. And then this was in discussion with the chief as well too. We talked through if you had to give up these exterior items for the sake of being able to do interior renovation. He was very supportive of that, knowing that these exterior items could easily be added later if there's additional budget available.
Okay.
So you can go to the next slide. So this is just for reference what was approved at the 10:15 meeting for which systems and sort of what is being presented for discussion at this meeting as well too. Won't go through all of them. You saw them on the last slide, but if anyone needs to look at what was approved before and what's approved now, this sort of brings clarity to that as an exhibit. You can go on to the next slide. So on schedule, so what we were doing here, this was our scope definition meeting. So when we had that meeting, the new budget came up. So this is extended our scope definition from the end of October to mid-November. The additional scope does shift out some, but still keeps it a Q1 2025 bid and a Q2 2025 construction goal. The next few slides are visuals. I won't go through all of these, but these are sort of the exhibits I believe you guys had in your packet that just explain sort of what the scope is that'd be included. If you want me to talk through any, I'm happy to. But in the interest of time, we can move through those if that's helpful.
No, may I? Can you just do like a high level, just overview,
totally.
just so that people know when you say we're moving
That's right.
from exterior to interior, what are we going to get in the
Perfect.
interior? So if you could just briefly, kind of rattle off some of those things that will be included.
So you can see on this slide, we're showing the exterior. The text is a little bit on the small side, but it shows what's add alternates. So the parking lot, that's an add alternate. The Sally Port is an add alternate. In red, you see around the building, that is the exterior windows. That's in the base scope. Go to the next one. So then you can see on here, we have our hazmat, our communications and equipment, which is in the base scope as well too. Furniture, fixtures, equipment, that's an add alternate. Mechanical upgrades, interior finishes, interior lighting, those are all base scope on here. Sprinkler is an add alternate. And then the elevator addition, that's an add alternate as well too. That's been brought up sort of as a potential concern for the future. And then the major piece is the reconfiguration of the upper level. I'm sorry, this is the lower level. The reconfiguration of the lower level improves the detainee and prisoner processing, also upgrades the locker rooms as well too that we had discussed. If you go to the next slide, you'll see the reconfiguration of the upper level, which includes moving the municipal court into the annex of the building and then moving the police operations into the core of the building. And then the next couple of slides just show the exterior work, the windows that would be upgraded and improved, and then the elevator addition is an add alternate, and that's shown here as well. The next piece I have is OPM scope. I'm happy to have any discussion on the extended budget and where that's being applied based on the subcommittee meeting.
So we still have some items that we don't, like the ammo, what is it, the 500,000, like we don't, do we have any confirmation we're getting that? Do we know what's happening with that?
Congressman Ammo?
Where's the question that you got, Congressman Ammo's, not as yet.
Okay. How about the energy bid? Did we get that 129? Do we have confirmation?
Yeah, that's guaranteed. Was originally, I think, Planet Carrillo got more money for us. There was an allotment to every community, and through his efforts, it was brought up to $129,000 for energy efficiency such as lighting, hot water, and ventilation.
Can you go back to slide 4? Number 4. The next one. This is the breakdown that we had received.
Yeah, so the 500,000 we don't know about yet, as far as I know. Do we have a deadline when we'll know about that, or?
Well, I don't want to go off topic, but Senate Appropriations Committee, no, we don't. Let's just leave it at that for public.
Okay. So I guess we're going to have to do a sliding scale, because if we don't know if we're getting some of this funding that we thought we were getting, okay.
If you want to go to the slide that shows the Gantt chart. Where I'd say that whether it's incoming grants or construction cost escalation or anything else that comes up during design, We do have a cost estimate planned after design development. So you can see that would be in probably mid-January or so. So if we are experiencing either budget constraints, if something changes with available cash flow, that will be a pivot point that we'll be able to dial in whatever we need to. In a very similar way, we have items that are in ad alternates now. We've already had some sort of conversations where we could bring those ad alternates for the main portion of the building as well, if necessary.
And you're still in conversation with the grant writers, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
A quick question?
Yeah.
Suppose you're towards the end over there, say April-ish,
Mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden, we say, hey, you know, we got all this money all of a sudden, we'd like to do this.
Mm-hmm.
You can still, that's not a problem, we can still keep going, or?
Yeah, so the way that this is built in, if you want to go back another slide. So you can see in the add alternate column here, most of these items are ones that sort of we had worked in design previously, and so we're rebooting them as part of this. So if additional money does become available, it'll be very straightforward, and actually they're already anticipated to be included in the add alternates when we bid.
Okay.
The council could say, don't bother bidding that where we don't have a chance at that, which is fine. Council will also have the opportunity to say, you know what, let's make this a multi-phase project. Let's bid out this portion now and bid another portion next year. A third alternative could be bid everything out right now. We know we have, call it 6 million. We expect to be higher than that. We might be a little bit surprised if something's lower, depending on how we can consolidate some of the design. But also if you're like, we may do one of these ad alternates next year, the year after, you'll have some up-to-date pricing as well too, to help inform future decisions.
So there's a lot of flexibility.
Still flexibility.
Okay, that's good. That's
After
good,
the
'cause-
design development cost estimate, we'll have to have a strategic approach that we're taking at that
Right.
point, but we'll be getting some data from a cost estimator then.
Okay. That's good, because you have new people coming on, and, you know, it's good to have everybody buy into the process, so.
So did the grant writers, by doing it like with kind of all broken out like this, did they say which items are more apt to get funding, or?
Yeah, in the conversation with them, it was helpful seeing prices per different scopes, things like accessibility. That's an easy to identify target. Some of the exterior work as well too, that can go into accessibility, that can go into different environmental aspects too, especially if you're dealing with stormwater in a more efficient way.
Okay.
So that's what Ms. Biragad's saying then.
Yep,
So if some
That's right.
money drops from heaven,
Mhm.
we can add it to the project.
That's correct.
Okay. Come on, heaven.
And the way, if you want to go back to the Gantt chart. The way we're looking at this is if budget changes, we have until April-ish, so we have about 6 months or so. And then we're planning on, the way this schedule is working, to start something in Q2, basically around May. And again, if there's some phasing, if there's scope that we want to push to a second year, we'll have the ability to do that. But this is saying for this sprint, if you will, let's get shovels in the ground for next summer.
Right?
Just a quick question. So the funding, it's grant and fund balance, just to, I'm assuming?
correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
just wanted to
Yeah.
clarify.
Anyone else have any other questions for Mr. Ami?
Also in your packet is the OPM. Good. It should be slide 12. So for the OPM scope, we have a request for proposals that should be in your packet. I do have an extra copy in case you don't have that. So the goal is to award the OPM prior to bid. The scope for them would include construction bidding and the award process. During the construction phase, they would have oversight attending the owner, architect, contractor meetings. They'd also be responsible for schedule and finance, as well as furniture, fixture, and equipment coordination. There's usually a lot of owner-related management items in regards to that. And they'd also be responsible for project closeout. A recommendation from Mark Carrillo, our town planner, we have an ad alternate in there for third-party certification, so that would relieve some burden from the town building official, where the OPM would have either someone that's passed the building official certification or a licensed architect or engineer that could take periodic inspections that can help facilitate a faster process and also lower some of the administrative burden. So we don't need to go with that. Mark suggested it, but so that would be included as an ad alternate.
Okay, that's a good idea. It
And then-
really is.
Yeah,
You
then
know,
the
we're
next
so,
council.
we don't have a lot of people on staff to do this type of thing, so the last thing we want is to have a project be held up by our own staff. So that's a good idea, you know, and it does take the burden off
Yep,
them.
that's right. And you'll see that cost exposed on the bid. It won't be built into it. It'll be a separate line item.
Separate.
Yep. If you want to go to the next slide. Yeah, this one here, yep. You can just see where we'd be looking to layer in the OPM, where we have the issue could be basically now, so mid-November to early December, with an award in December so that they're on board. Hopefully, well, definitely before going out to bid, possibly when we have our cost estimate come in January to February, they can be involved in the strategy about phasing and sort of what scope we take on, what scope we don't.
That's a good idea, to have them early
Yep.
in the process, yeah.
And then if you have other projects that you wanted them involved with, you guys know your
Yeah.
process of being able to expand the contract.
Speaking to that, yeah, I know, I'd spoken to Councilwoman Hamilton about potentially Hallowell and that process we just went through.
Yep.
Maybe there
Mhm.
could be some overlap there,
Yep, that's
which
right.
would be helpful.
That would be tremendous.
And then for this one, we just focused on the police station
the
scope.
police.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, no, I'm just saying, if there could be.
Good. Okay.
Can I just ask a simple question, and maybe it's just standard language? Under page 5 of 6, sections, selection process and qualifications criteria, selection criteria, it says the firm's qualifications, proposed personnel qualification, anticipated services, and project approach will be the criteria by which the school district will conduct its evaluation? Is that just a typo?
That might have been a
Okay.
typo from a prior.
That's fine. Just
Yep.
wanted to make sure.
No, no. We
Didn't
don't
know if we
want to
was
do another
borrowing from the
project.
schools.
Good catch there.
That's yes, good eye.
Yeah, he's good with the details.
Find and replace did not work for that one.
No, yeah, sometimes it gets you.
Okay.
Okay, so that would be good, and they could be used for an additional project if they so choose.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be helpful.
No, and our experience working with municipalities, as you guys have seen, it can, between volunteers, staff, and elected officials, you can get through the design process. It's not the simplest thing, but in construction, you really need either dedicated in-house staff or consulting staff to really make it smooth. You need very quick decisions during construction.
Right. And again, this project, similarly to the one that you were listening to us debate earlier, is dependent upon grants for a good portion
That's right.
that have an expiration.
They do.
So we don't want to dilly-dally too much, yeah. Okay.
All right, so tonight we're looking for a motion to act on the revised budget and revised scope, correct, the first one?
That's correct.
Would anyone like to make a motion?
We need the amount here. So I'll make a motion, let me see, to approve the revised budget and revised scope for the North Smithfield Police Station in the, please correct me if I'm wrong, in the amount of $5,928,000, is that it? No?
5.94.
5.9, hang on a minute. Let me make sure I get it right.
Slide forward, have this.
What's the total?
5.94 is what you said?
Next one.
I don't see that.
I said
5.94.
Oh, that one.
Oh, at phased in, okay, okay.
Okay.
All right, so let me make a motion to approve the revised budget and revised scope for the North Smithfield Police Station in the amount of $5.9 million, phased in.
All right, so it's a motion. Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I'm just not clear, where's the money coming from?
So we have the grants, and then we can spend up to $4 million of the general cash flow, general fund without affecting our bond rating, because we have
In excess.
the funds available.
Okay.
So that's when we can, if we decide that we can't do the 4, then we can pull things back. But right now, just to at least get the plan going, so, because we have the money.
Okay. I just don't want to lock us out of any future, that can, again, not here, but if something else comes up, an opportunity, for instance, open space, or that we need to kick in for something for the senior center, you know, that doesn't just lock us out of doing anything in the future.
Well, I mean, we wouldn't want to spend more than $4 million this year, but then we, depending on the surplus going
For this
forward,
year.
in the forward years, we would continue building that general cash fund, but this is money that's sitting there that's already been taxed, and it's just sitting. And like you said, we can scale it back at any point up until like April, you said?
Late January would be better.
January, okay. Well, then because we also have to see if we're gonna actually get these grants that we,
Yep,
you
that's
know,
right.
so.
Okay. Get a motion in a second.
Yeah, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Just for clarity, so it's just a budget of 5.94, but that doesn't get into, you don't need anything on the ad alternates or anything like that tonight?
No.
Okay, that's fine. Just
down
wanted
the
to-
road,
yeah, perfect.
Mhm.
Yeah, this was an illustration to show
Yeah, no, I
how we
appreciate
could
it.
accomplish that.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
You know, this is a tough one, because I just don't want to lock up all our money like that. I mean, we gotta do it. Yes,
What did you say?
we gotta do it.
What
It's
did
gotta
you
be
say?
done.
What was that little word you said?
Yes.
I shut it off.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara.
Yes.
Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. And then discussion by council vote or other action on updated single works proposal to match revised budget and revised scope. Is that something we need to do, or?
Yeah, the last scope we had was for like the $2 million worth of
Okay.
work, not the 6 to 9.
Okay.
Okay, so what number are we going with now? So I'll make a motion to approve, approve updated signal works proposal to match the revised budget, which was just approved, and revised scope.
Yep. And it's addendum number 2 that you can cite
Where am
as the reference.
I? And this?
I'm not sure how your packet got set up. It looks like this.
Oh, thank
Oh,
you.
option 2.
It's this one.
Okay, addendum number 2,
Addendum number 2, that's correct.
so that's $300,000.
That's correct.
That's it?
Yep, that's the add to the prior base.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see.
So if
Okay.
you look at the last Exhibit A,
Mhm.
that breaks down the base feasibility study we did, the addendum 1, which was approved at the last meeting, which was just for the, I think, 2.7 million worth of effort, and then addendum 2, which would bring us up to what you've seen here with all the,
So this
including
is-
the ad alternates.
This is adding on things that we wanted to do, interior, right?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let me say this again then. I make a motion to approve the updated signal works proposal to match the revised budget and the revised scope in the amount of $300,375. So that's the difference between what we had done before and what we approved today.
That's
Okay.
correct.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second for discussion. So then, just to understand, so the total contract value is the last one, right? So it's committing up to $500,000 essentially for the project, okay.
And you second?
I seconded, yeah.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. And discussion by council vote or other action on sending over project manager RFP out to bid for Smithfield Police Station.
Is there a cost associated? No? Cost associated?
No, it's a request.
No, we have scope in our agreement to assist with this up to a certain amount of effort.
Okay, so we're just approving that we get the RFP out to bid?
That's right, and
Right
that would be
now.
a town item of issuing the RFP to bid. We're happy to provide feedback on that one. And then once receiving the bids and collecting them, we can help assist in that process as well, too. We can come alongside you guys' internal process.
Okay, but right now, basically, what we're only approving is the sending owner's project manager RFP. So it's just the proposal, the
Correct.
RFP
That's
proposal
correct.
that you provided to us.
Yep. Yep, so
Anything, we can discuss how it'll be handled when it goes out and when it comes back in after, is what you're saying?
Exactly.
Okay.
yeah.
So that's my
And we
motion.
would just need feedback on who you want us to coordinate with on the town side for that, whether it's Mark or Joanne.
Okay. Okay.
So
Can-
aren't these the timelines in here that where by 3:30 Friday, December 6th, it goes? And then
Yeah, those dates,
submissions by January 3rd?
yep, so those dates can be edited if
Okay.
necessary, but we put those in for our hope and our intent.
Okay, all right.
So can I just ask a clarifying question? So I just want to make sure I heard correctly. So you're saying, once the RFP goes over to Tony for the purchasing agent?
Yep.
You will help after the process? Do you help with the advertising of it? I know we sometimes go out to bid and we don't always get people. It seems to be a common thing amongst municipalities. So will you, I'm saying we're paying like $500,000, would you help in advertising it? Or like, how does that process work in collaboration with Tony and
Yeah,
you know, offering him
totally.
support?
Yeah, so what we would do is we would recommend a few locations where those RFPs typically go out to.
Okay.
And then there's, and there's, those would be the places that the OPMs that would be qualified for this would be looking.
I would just hate to see it delayed because we don't get anybody.
Okay.
Point. Okay, so that's my motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes?
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
New business discussion by
Do
council.
we have to close that meeting?
Oh, all right. Make a motion to close the MBRTF with the town council sitting as the MBRTF.
I'll make a motion to close the meeting,
And we have a motion and a
the
second.
MBRTF meeting. Just for discussion, I would say that we talked about closing committees. I don't know, I know at one point it was recommended that, you know, I know I recommended the council serve it, but I know there was talk that maybe we should get a building committee. Maybe look at maybe dissolving the MBRTF so you don't, if the council wants to sit, so you don't need to keep having joint meetings. Or maybe forming a new building committee, something to look at in the future.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second to end that meeting, right?
Yeah.
Do we need roll call? So all in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting's adjourned. New business discussion by council vote or other action on award a bid for town-wide crack ceiling. Mr. Kennegas.
Good evening. Ray Pendergast, Director of Public Works. I'm requesting your approval to spend up to $50,000 for crack sealing town-wide. The money will come out of our Highway Division operational budget. We are piggybacking on the town of Smithfield bid. The expiration date for that is June of '25.
Yeah. I'm just wondering when you'll be doing this as soon as we approve it? Like you'll be starting on this, I would imagine, as soon as possible?
We're on
before the
schedule
cold
to
weather?
start next week, hopefully.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
So I'll make a motion to approve the contract and not to exceed in the amount of $50,000.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara.
Yes.
Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Discussion by council vote or other action on resolution in support of application for a grant from the U.S. Department of Agriculture pursuant to USDA Forest Service Community Forest and Open Space Conservation Program for fiscal year 2025. Applications may not exceed $600,000, must include at least 50% non-federal cost share, and must be submitted by January 13, 2025. Mrs. Zelinski?
That pretty much sums it up. There are some criteria. I believe you all received this in your packet from the U.S. Forest Service. A couple of reasons, a couple of things that have to be looked at. 75% of it has to be forested. Has to be a high conservative conservation value, historic value, recreation trails, hiking. For the cultural aspect of it, I think it's very strong that most of us in town know that this was Chief Medicom, or as they were referred to as King Philip, the battles where the Connecticut militia came in and fought the native folks that lived here. So there's a lot of cultural, historic, educational value to this property. It's up to $600,000. If the grants is looked upon favorably, it can be less. So that's basically it. There's a 50% share of the cost. It's pretty straightforward. So I asked G&G to apply for this grant after hearing back from 2 council members that thought favorably of it, so I said, go ahead, proceed.
So do they know when we'll have some sort of feedback, or?
No, it goes, like, it's on the agenda, as you read, it's due in January 13th. When it's awarded, don't know, it can take months, but there is a provision. They like to see the money spent, utilized within 2 years. And so I think where this would all have to start with some of the criteria to do this is we would have to have a purchase and sales agreement with the Scalzo, Sneezex, Buffonis. That's first step. We have appraisals. They don't match. Was it Lisa Gagnon, Mr. Buffoni, was that your appraiser? Lisa submitted an appraisal for the family, and we have the town appraisal. So there's separation between the two of them.
All right, so what we're doing this evening is, really, you've already requested that this grant be applied for,
Correct.
correct? So
Yeah.
there's really no,
Unless council says no, I
There's
can tell them to
no-
withdraw it.
right, but there's no approval needed or anything. So it's already approved. You'll just let them know when it comes in, if it comes in.
Well, I won't be here to let you know,
Well,
but, yeah.
Mr. Elect
Yeah.
will, yes, okay.
Yeah, so we're proceeding with it.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Discussion by council vote or other action on penalty/tax adjustments. Mr. St. Ange?
Looking for $8,921.49. I combined, instead of having 2 sheets, now that we're not doing interest waivers, since MCA has been doing this for a little while, I just combined the 2 sheets. Now we just have one. Makes it a little bit easier to track going forward. But yes, so those are the list of individuals or corporations who MCA has not been able to collect on.
Can I ask a question about what does the explanation doubtful account mean? What is
old.
the
Not gonna
definition?
collect on
It's
it.
just
It's just
been on the books for too long?
Yeah, it's not able to be collected.
Okay,
Yeah, based on a certain period of time.
okay.
Or usually time.
How much do you know to date have we had to adjust?
8,000, for this fiscal year, $8,921.49, if you approve it.
Okay.
I kind of saved these for a little because they were smaller, so we haven't done one in a while.
So, aren't we doing something to, I know before we're some sort of, when the deceased, that we're doing some sort of
It was,
tracking, or because we seem to always get that, and I thought there was something being done that when someone comes in to file, or that we're kind of making
I
notes
think,
of that.
are you referring to the tangible?
No.
No. I'm not, yeah, you'd have to jog my memory again.
Okay.
You said it was just deceased that you're talking about?
Yeah, there was gonna be some sort of tracking in, I don't know if it was the clerk's office, of when someone came in, that there was gonna be some sort of note, so that when we had taxes, that we could get in front of it. Because these, I mean, these go way back, but.
Yeah. When someone comes in, do they come see you guys first?
Can you talk into the mic, please?
If they come in person to request a license, they have to go over to the tax department first. If they go through the portal, it automatically will bring them to us to apply and goes right to the tax department. And we do not move forward until the taxes are paid, and usually Tiffany will watch them. She can run a report and see which ones have not been paid.
Okay, anyone want to make a motion?
I don't know. I don't know how it'll do with people who died.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the tax adjustments in the amount of $8,921.49.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara.
Yes.
Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Discussion by council vote, other action on approval for a check request regarding an improperly recorded deed that went to tax sale. Mr. St. Ange?
Yes,
Ah,
so
that's
this
the
is
one.
so I was remiss earlier. I didn't know that Marie had broken it down. I had remembered the $7,000 number, not the individualized. So they're individualized because they affect three different things. They affect general fund, sewer, and sewer interest. So what had happened was this property had gone out to tax sale twice, and the second time around, Rhode Island Housing had picked it up. The deed was improperly recorded, and the title company hadn't picked it up both times. The deed is saying that it's one parcel when it's actually two. So this is something that had done back in, like, I think if I remember correctly, it was 2016. Yeah, so it was a while ago. But what what Rhode Island Housing had found out was that it's two parcels, not one, so they wanted their money back. So we're here asking the council to give their money back, then we put it back on tax sale, and then we get all this money recouped, and then some, depending on how long out it goes to get on tax sale again.
So can I ask a question? We already approved it in the check register.
You
So do
could,
still need
given the
action?
the misinformation I had given you, you could re-vote on that. That's up to the council. And if you wanted to not deny this, you have that right.
Well, I agree. I think if we denied it, then we would have to re-vote.
Yeah, that's what I'm
On the
saying.
other,
Yeah. But this is just giving back. I mean, if you deny it, then we'll probably have fights with Rhode Island Housing because it was recorded wrong.
No, I
But
think what he's saying is that we approved it.
We already approved it.
I know that.
within
What I'm saying
the
is if you
confines
could,
of the-
So would the vote just to be ratify that action
Yeah.
that we approved it?
Correct.
Essentially?
Yes.
Okay.
yeah.
Then I'll just make a motion that we approve the amount of $7,532.68.
Second,
Then we can discuss it.
So how does it get recorded incorrectly?
I'm not exactly sure how it happened, back when it had the inception of all this. Yeah, I think it had just been a human error based on, when they had put both on, they had only written one on the deed, not the other, just something as simple as that. That's the way that MJ had explained it to me when they had done the research on it. But you know, if you needed further explanation, I could always get that for you, but.
So the backup says that they sent a letter back in May, and then they're sending another letter in September because they hadn't received any response from us?
Yeah, we wanted to, we tried to reach out to the individuals who owe the debt to see if they could correct the deed without any responses. So after Rhode Island Housing had eventually reached back out, they said, okay, we didn't receive a response from the people who have the debt owed, so our next step was to come to council.
So what you're saying is that a lot of time elapsed, Madam President?
Well, yeah, because Rhode Island Housing sent a letter. They're saying they sent a letter back in May and they hadn't gotten any response, so then they sent another letter on September 26th asking the town to follow up, so just wondering why.
Yeah, we tried to do our due diligence after we got the first letter, so.
What?
I was just gonna ask, do we typically respond to letters, or did we, like, if we ever get these, like, did we respond to them, or did we just?
We hadn't
open the mail?
reached back out to Rhode Island Housing, no, because we wanted to see if we could have the deed corrected and then discuss with Rhode Island Housing.
Okay. Seems like a long time to the president's
Yeah.
point, but, okay.
All right, so do you want a motion on this since we already approved the bills, or
If you could, yeah, since it's a separate item.
you made the motion?
Just
Or
to
you
start that
seconded it?
process.
All right, any further discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes.
Madam President, I'm gonna make a motion to extend the meeting by a half hour.
We have a motion, is there a second?
That's how we feel. Yes, second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Discussion by council vote on other action on salary and wage ordinance. Mr. St. Ange, first reading.
So as you can see, all the wages here we have, only changes from prior year to this year was changing the water superintendent, water assistant superintendent, and coordinator to a yearly instead of hourly, as they were recorded in prior years as an hourly. Same amount of money, just viewed differently, but.
So this is an ordinance that normally would come to us when we do the budget, right?
After
Or
you,
shortly
after the budget, yeah, you approve it
shortly
after.
thereafter.
Hmm?
We didn't approve it. So how does that work if we're only approving dollar amounts now and they've been in effect for several months?
No different than you approving a contract that was approved after the budget was passed, and you have to ratify it. Comes after the passing of the budget and I mean, I've only been through one contract year, but yeah, after the contract as well, because it has to wait for all those things to be
So-
solidified.
I'm just gonna ask a silly question
No,
here.
there's no silly
We
question.
passed the budget in June though, right?
Right.
Correct.
So why are we getting?
When was the
fined?
contract passed?
That-
When was the contract passed, though? I
Oh,
I
why don't
genuinely
you
don't
tell
have the
us?
date.
Oh, you're the finance director.
I don't have the exact date as to when the contract was passed through the
It was
council.
over the summer, I thought,
It was
or
pro-
early
at least
September.
late July, I don't know, I
Right.
think it might have even been August.
So even if it was September,
Right.
why is it now middle of November that we're getting this? And I'm pretty sure that even in contract years, these have been passed as soon as the
Right.
budget was done.
Right.
They shouldn't
could
be
be wrong.
passed because you shouldn't be approving
But
an
even if it
ordinance
was
with wages
still
when they're.
September, it just seems like it's really late.
It is, sure,
That's all.
yeah. Okay, it's late.
And it doesn't affect the legality of any
No.
of
No, because
the
we've
amounts?
been paying the wages. If you decide that you've already passed the budget, that's already been passed. This is just formality, from my understanding. Unless the,
Really?
Unless
It's
David would
really
like to say otherwise.
approving, pay grades, right, which is different
So what,
than an
what,
overall budget.
yeah.
Correct.
I'm just not understanding what we're discussing.
All right, so this is the first reading,
Correct.
So you don't
Subject
need
to,
action.
yeah.
no action.
Okay,
No
Once the
action.
next reading comes in, I'll have to change the signatures.
yeah. Is John still president?
Yeah,
I'm still on the council on
yeah,
this sheet.
they're all wrong.
Yeah, I grabbed the former version, but they'll be updated with the new members as well.
Like the past 3 councils on that sheet.
Yeah, it's an old one, yeah.
Thanks, Tony.
Discussion by council vote or other action on protocol for unsealing executive session minutes. Mr. Ogier?
All right, so my thought with this is I've heard from a lot of people over the years that they always wonder, like, there's things that seem to be resolved because, you can open up the Valley Breeze or go online and see NRI Now, and there seems to be a lot of things that get resolved, but there seems to be no communication from the council in terms of what actually took place in executive session. I know we've all heard from people that it seems like things get out from executive session into open session. And my belief is that, and it was something I was going to pursue if I was reelected in the next term, is that the council should develop a protocol for which things that no longer needed to be confidential, they should be disclosed. We should be unsealing those minutes, and we should be opening it up, like real estate stuff or, any type of, other contract stuff or maybe stuff that is no longer protected for a particular reason. When you look at the OMA statute or you look at the Attorney General, they say that meeting the minutes, even if you go into executive and it's no longer deemed that it needs to be an executive, and I'm paraphrasing, you should unseal those minutes at the next meeting. We don't do that. We don't even vote on executive session minutes. And I think that the council should quarterly at least be reviewing those minutes, or monthly should be reviewing those minutes or whatever time frame to ensure accuracy, to ensure that things are, being passed collectively, there's continuity in terms of, if there's changes in councils or, litigation's going on for months. And I think that they should be open. I think executive session, as long as it's no longer deemed confidential or protected in terms of even this term, we should just open it up. We should start unsealing, and we should get into that practice going forward. I'm not saying go back 10 years or, the solicitor advised that if you go back too far, you start, you need to bring in multiple lawyers and, there's everybody that's been involved. I think if you wanted to unseal a certain portion of it, unseal specific pieces, and then going forward, set the expectation that anything said in executive session could be disclosed at a future date. I just think in full transparency, the people have the right to know, particularly on things that aren't related to strategy or aren't related to contracts or ongoing litigation. Those things should be protected for a reason. But, things like, the Pines or the Gold property or those types of things, those should be undisclosed at this point. I mean, those projects have either moved on or been developed elsewhere, and so there is no merit to keeping them private. And there's probably others I can think of. It's just real estate seems to be the safe one to talk about. So I just wanted to throw it out there to the council.
So would you develop a policy to determine which of those things should or cannot be? Right, I mean, if it be deemed harmful to someone, I'm sure like anything related to personnel would be like HIPAA protected and things
Correct.
like that.
Work with the solicitor and the trust.
But just, come up with a policy I like that.
To make sure that there's no, and it doesn't necessarily need to be a separate ordinance or something, it could just be part of the rules of the order or something, but, making sure that once it passes that threshold where it's safe to release, it can get released.
Yeah, and I think then it helps everybody that you feel like you can speak to it and you're not violating anything.
Correct.
Because it's genuinely now resolved and open to the public. Yeah, I like that. What do I know?
Seems reasonable.
Okay.
That's all I had. Do I need to do a vote, David? So I'll do a vote. I'll do a vote to at least have it continue. So I'll make a motion that the council develop a protocol for unsealing executive session minutes.
Second?
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call? Roll call?
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara.
Yes.
Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Discussion by council vote or other action on increasing live streaming options for all boards and committees. Mr. Ogier?
We skipped item G, but I'll take this one now.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. So, one thing I've heard also from people in town is that, you know, we have a lot of boards and commissions, but people can't always attend in person. And so I think there's additional, I know we're limited to planning and zoning in Hallowell, and, you know, I think going back to the meetings, you know, when we had the MBRTF or the Budget Committee, there's other committees that could benefit. Personally, I think it should be all of them, but I think there's additional committees where we could benefit from leveraging technology. I'm not saying CJ needs to be here every night, one of those meetings, but, you know, we have Teams. Maybe we could set up a Teams account that's a service account that each board and commission could access. They post the agenda, and then we could work with Vertical 6 on how do we upload it.
Yep.
You know, all those files are recorded on Teams. We can put a spot where somebody can access them, even if on the website. I just think increasing that would allow, if people want to go get the information, they know where to go and get it. They can decipher it how they want to decipher, and it's relatively a simple thing to do. So I would like to see more live streaming options for that reason.
Yeah, just for my 2 cents, I'll just tell you, we can just basically do what we do with the school committee. School committee sends me their Zoom meetings, and I can upload it right to YouTube. So it's not a difficult process. So, I mean, whatever the council decides to do, I'd be more than willing to put it on the YouTube channel.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, good.
Is that is there a fee that goes along with, when we put it's like $175, right? No, but is there a fee to load it onto YouTube?
Well, there's a fee for if we're gonna have somebody be doing this.
No, it wouldn't, no, he's saying we can find a way to do it without, but if there's, is there a fee to
Someone has to
upload it, put it on the
facilitate
internet?
it, is what I'm saying.
What's that?
Someone has to facilitate it. Someone has to, either in that group of all
Right.
these boards, someone there has to, or whether they have a secretary or the president of that group has to set those Zooms up, has to make sure all the documents are uploaded into it. Then, yes, we do have to pay for Zoom, or we could do Teams. I don't know if Teams can do what you said. That'd be great if it does, because I like free. But there would be I think that's a great idea, but there would be having to have someone in every single board to facilitate this and have access to the same account.
Well, people are pretty smart, pretty savvy, I think, you know, just even a phone, right? We've done meetings here with our little phone, and it's worked, you know, not exactly, you know, but it is a documentation of, you know, what decisions people are making for the general public, right? And I think it's a good idea.
So David, are boards and committees allowed to go? You can do that?
Well, the council made a rule of which ones would or would not, so you,
Oh, that's
and
right.
I'm a little confused. Is uploading YouTube the same as live streaming?
No.
No.
Okay, because this is saying live streaming. I thought CJ was saying you give them a tape and they'll upload it on YouTube. They'll get to watch it later, not
But
watch it in real time.
You're talking about the same thing though, David, because you
okay.
could, I think, so what the school committee does is I can watch the school committee meeting tomorrow night on Zoom, and then if I'm like, oh, I missed something, that next day or whenever it's uploaded, I can go back and watch it. So you would still have the live streaming element. Like, I know the budget committee used to use Zoom, and you could watch the meeting in real time. I think they even took participation through Zoom sometimes. And then you could just upload that.
Do they still?
The
No.
function of the council changing the rule, which you've made a rule in your council rules about which committees would have lines. You did it because of budget. I think you need to get numbers on that, so you know exactly what's gonna cost, because if you're gonna put that burden on a volunteer member of a group, as you know, you're not staffing these volunteer committees with clerks. Most cities and towns, any committee that's created normally has a clerk. You know, you even have Hallowell committee, you have the building committee making multi-million-dollar decisions with no clerks. Now you're gonna say, be responsible for Zoom, so keep that in mind. Yes, you can do it, but it's a price and responsibility associated with it. And it's clearly the council choice. You just need to put a budget together and say who's gonna be responsible for doing it. If you promise it, you should let people know, and you should execute.
I think at the very least, did you say the budget committee does
They're
not
not,
have?
they used to do it through Zoom,
Yeah,
but it
I
wasn't a
think
mandate.
That would be one that I think would be interesting to people, right? How the budget's, pulled together, so.
Okay. Something to think about for the next.
Do you want to do a vote on that or anything, or?
So David, if we were to do a vote, what would it just be to have the council explore it further?
Yeah.
What would you advise?
Ask the council to explore it, unless the council's in position to make this commitment without knowing numbers.
No, and I don't think we.
Yeah, it's fine.
And who's gonna be responsible?
Right.
All right, so then I'll just make a motion to have the council further explore increasing live streaming options for all boards and commissions, including budget, what boards and commissions, who's gonna run it, et cetera.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Biragad.
No.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Discussion by council vote or other action on developing and establishing an online social media presence for the town. Mr. Ogier?
All right, I tried in 2018, 2020, I'm gonna try again now. I've had so many people come up to me and say, again, I don't know where to go if I want information, right? They know the newsletter, but, you know, you look at like, I think like Lincoln and other towns, they have a verified, or they have a source online that they can go. Social media is one way. I think we need to embrace that technology a little bit. You can get an intern to run it, right? It could have approvals. You can set up a whole process in terms of what content gets published and not published. If it doesn't work out, you just let that person go, change credentials, and move forward. I think it's definitely a growing demand job in terms of that type of space, social media accounts and all that. So I'm pretty sure you could probably find somebody at Bryant. But I just think it would be good to have that source of truth, not individual like accounts running around, you know, all that stuff. It's great that that's out there, don't get me wrong. But I think having a spot where you can consistently see the same message spread across, coming from the same source, it just helps, I think, in terms of information that's being translated, updates, those types of things. So I'll open it up to discussion.
Madam President? Theoretically, I think it's a great idea, especially if you were gonna put something on social media, like on Facebook, but you weren't gonna allow comments. I think that would be the way to go, because what I have seen firsthand, that social media is the devil's workshop. I'm telling you right now, I have seen the ugliest side of social media. There is an element in this town of really a group of people that are so rotten that all they want to do is go on social media. They're waiting right now for somebody on social media to say something so they can pounce on it. They wait every Thursday morning for the Valley Breeze to come out with something. They wait for Sandy Sion to come out with something, and she tried to control it. She couldn't even control it. You do not want to give these people another landing page. I'm telling you right now, unless you're going to have somebody sitting there constantly deleting comments, you can't do that, right? So I wouldn't even go there.
I mean, I think it would be good as like an information only.
Yeah, information only is fine.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, if there's like a water main break or something that we can get it out to a bunch of people at one time, because we don't have that, but, yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, to give another group, that group of people another landing page to spew their venom is the last thing we need to do in this town.
I also think we need to rise above that, though. So like
They're not gonna rise above it.
talk about groups of people.
They're being
and
led,
how-
they're not gonna rise above it.
Let me finish.
What'd you say?
They're being led, they're not gonna rise above it.
Let me finish. As I said in my open forum, we need to set an excellent standard here, right? You know, I think the tagline of the community was a community of excellence, right? We need to set that expectation and set that standard. And if people want to, however you want to set it up, by all means, but it works in other communities. I can't imagine that we can't figure out a solution, whether that's working with those communities to find out what's worked and what hasn't worked. Maybe it's just information only. I just think we need to just look at how do we get information out to the town? And it's very limited right now. It's the website, the newsletter, and online social media, and I could tell you there's probably like 20 different pages out there that I could get information from. The only one that I know is probably from the town legit is the North Smithfield Parks and Rec page.
You can turn off comments on Twitter.
You what?
You can turn off comments on Twitter. And that's a
Yeah,
great
you
way
mean
for
X.
people to get status updates. What?
You mean X?
Whatever.
So we were in Putnam a couple of weeks ago, and we were looking for something, so we went on their Facebook page, and they have a beautiful Facebook page, Putnam, Connecticut. And just for curious, I started going through it, really nice, informative page, a lot of nice comments on here. I don't think you would find that be the case over here.
So information only.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a start,
Didn't have to allow
right?
comments.
It's a
Yeah,
start.
I would take a start at this
I think at least
point.
then it's a legitimate source of communication, right? It's another way to
Yeah.
communicate, because we all say, how are we gonna get that information out to people? And we always say social media, and we don't have our own.
But we don't have it.
So, yeah, I think it.
Do I want to be the intern? You can't afford me, Tony.
Okay.
Do you want to make a motion to look into that?
I'll make a motion that the next council and administration continue to explore developing and establishing an online social media presence for the town.
Okay, second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad,
I'm a big no.
Mr. Hamilton,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara,
Big no.
Mr. Ogier,
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes.
And Tony, if you need any help,
Just
just let me know.
Investigating.
Discussion by council vote other action on FY 2024 proposed reservation request.
So these are just, as it says, these are the reserves that we want to add to the list. If there's any questions, feel free to ask.
So are these already on?
They are not on, they're being asked to be put on.
So these are funds remaining from?
Prior.
And so this will go to reserves?
Into the existing list, correct.
Into what, please?
Into the existing list of reserves.
Okay.
And then obviously they'll be reviewed at the new budget process.
Correct.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the 2024 proposed items to committed town council reserves in the amount of $458,303.73.
That's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Biragad,
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. North Smithfield Town Council sitting as Board of License Commissioners, discussion by council vote or other action on renewal of yearly licenses, 2024-25. So how did we do this last year? We just go by group? Is that what we did?
Yeah, you just have to read the rules.
If you go by the group, and you can read the names out, and we'll put the same exact copy of this in the minutes, what is approved. So if it's on there and we haven't received, say, a notice from the state for our food, it will be approved by council pending whether we receive that back yet, a certification or tips, taxes. But in order to do them all at once, this is really the best way to do it. So they're approved pending the clerk's department verifying all necessary paperwork.
So that disclaimer is to be used for each one of the groups.
So we can't just take them all at once then?
Yeah, like-
No, that you can.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I was like-
Yes.
We kind of did it like a consent agenda. You're
Yeah.
gonna
I
approve it
think you're right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
that's
unless you want to pull one of them out.
Okay.
And I would like to mention that the Revive Coffee Shop is not on there. That is because they just received their license, so we didn't put them into renewal.
Okay.
They would have had to pay for another year. And also, the Northern Flea Market has not applied for their license yet. We're not sure what they're doing, but we do have them on there just in case they decide to reapply.
Okay. All right. Anyone want to start or you want me to start? So we're going to do Class A package store, right? And then read them and then vote on them? Is that what we're doing? Yes. Okay, so Class A package stores, North Smithfield Liquor Warehouse and Park Square Wine and Spirits.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call. Is that what we're doing?
Did you do one at a time, or you did both?
I did both.
Okay, that's fine.
Before you make your motion, just in case for the record, that all motions are made subject to what the
Okay.
clerk cited. And these are 2024, 2025 liquor license renewals. All licenses are subject to certificates of good standing, payment of town taxes, approval of DOH, which is Department of Health, insurance certificate, fire inspection, tip certification, and all fee fines, all fees paid. And then make your motions. All following motions are subject to that limitation, so they can't get their license unless they have proof of all those items.
So that statement in front of every single class?
No, I think
Just
just in the
one?
beginning.
Okay,
Just make
all right.
it once, and then recite each section after.
Okay, all right, so all licenses are subject to certificate of good standing, payment of town taxes, approval from DOH, insurance certificate, fire inspections, tip certification, and all fees paid. Class A package store, North Smithfield Liquor Warehouse, and Park Square Wine and Spirits.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Class BV Victualling, Buffalo Wild Wings, number 558, Coffee and Cream Restaurant, Gator's Pub, Hercules Pizza, I can't say this one,
Ichiraku?
okay, Ramen and Fusion, Lindy's Tavern, Lower Level Bar and Grill, Lucky Dog Tavern, Tavern 621, Texas Roadhouse, Thai 9 Restaurant, The Village Haven, and Yamafuji.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Class BBL Victualling Limited, Beef Barn, and Wide World of Indoor Sports.
I'll make a motion to
Sec-
approve.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Class D Club Full Privilege, The Island RI, Sales Hill Rod and Gun Club, Inc., and the Villa at St. Antoine.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. For victualling license renewals, 2024-25, all licenses are subject to payment of town taxes approved from DOH, fire inspection, and all fees paid. Victualling licenses with extended hours, 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., and holiday sales. Cumberland Farms, number 1274, Dunkin' Donuts at 7 Darling Village, Dunkin' Donuts at 941 Victory Highway, McDonald's, Seasons Corner Market, and Taco Bell.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton. Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Victualling licenses with holiday sales, Brigado's Fresh Market, Burger King, Domino's, Stop and Shop number 721, Subway at 900 Victory Highway, Subway at 99 Eddie Darling Highway, Walmart number 2225, Wendy's, and Wright's Dairy Farm and Bakery.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Victualling license with Theater, Rustic Drive-In.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Victualling licenses only, Cagney Food Service at 1186 Eddie Darling Highway, Cagney Food Service at 621 Pound Hill Road, Firehouse Pizza Sub 2, Inc., Little Creek Farm LLC, Lynn Family Company LLC, Rise Up Nutrition Rhode Island LLC, Soul Shine Nutrition.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. 2024-25 holiday sales, renewal licenses only. All licenses subject to payment of town taxes, fire inspection approval, and all fees paid. Aldi, Solaris, CT Gas, CVS Pharmacy, number 326, Firestone Complete Auto Care, GNC Holdings LLC, JT Nail Spa, Kohl's number 1549, KV Nails Corporation, Leeway Ace Hardware, Little General Store number 9, Lowe's Home Center LLC 2723, Mattress Firm Inc. number 170010, Park Square Pharmacy, PetSmart Inc. 2359, Planet Fitness, Red Box at 7 Darling Village Boulevard, Red Box at 120 Eddie Dolly Highway, Sam's Food Store, Show Nails and Spa, The Ski Shop Plus, Stop and Shop Fuel Facility number 721, U-Haul Center of North Smithfield, Vape Shops and Glass Gallery, and Walgreens number 19165.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. 2024 general business license renewals. All licenses subject to payment of town taxes, fire inspection approval, and all fees paid. Bingo Meadows Residents Association.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Board Cats and Dogs, Cozy Quarters Pet Inc., and High on Hill Boarding Kennel.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Dry Cleaners License, Personal Touch Cleaners.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Firearms and/or ammunition, additional approval from ATF. The Arm House, KMD Sports LLC, MTR Machining Inc., MTR Guns and Ammo.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Now, you said Northern Flea Market?
Mm-hmm.
Are they,
He hasn't applied yet, but he still can.
okay.
He has
So
time.
Flea Market, Northern Flea Market.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Hotel/motel license, Hilltop Inn, Travelers Motor Lodge.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr.
Yes.
Biragad.
Yes.
Yes. Oops. Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Junkyard license, Leo's Auto Parts, Northeast Auto Recycling, Inc., and North Smithfield Auto Recycling.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Mobile food establishment, additional approval from DOH and State Fire Marshal. Blount Clam Shack Food Truck, Chicked Out Nugs, Not Your Average Popcorn, Luigi's Ice Cream, and Slater Perk Cafe.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Secondhand license, Crystal Poke Brakes, Lulu's Crazy Daisy LLC, PUW.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. And solicitation, Power Home Remodeling and Renewal by Anderson.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes.
That was great. You guys did that in record time.
Woo-hoo.
See, you can't leave now because you had just got it down. That was like, quick, quick.
Okay, so now we're going to open forum pursuant to 42-46-6D, maximum 3 minutes per person. Anyone like to get up and speak? Where's
Mike
my
Clifford, 489 Black Plain Road.
sign sheet?
3 items on the agenda I'd like to discuss. The last one was on new business, 11, new business, and I, discussion by council vote or other action on FY24 proposed reservation request, Mr. St. Ange. That does not meet the criteria of the Open Meetings Act for an agenda item. First of all, it's supposed to be something that the average person will understand. And if I was an average person in this town reading that agenda item, I'd say proposed reservation request. Is somebody traveling somewhere? Is somebody going somewhere? I mean, it doesn't address it at all. Just to put it in the form of a motion, as Mrs. Hamilton, thank you, Paulette, came up with, it would give you a clue that it was a financial transaction and you were transferring funds from surplus funds into committed and assigned balances. But somebody's got to start like reviewing these agendas to make sure that they're in compliance, because Mr. Igliozzi, would you like to take a bet on me that I could win a complaint on that one? Because do you think that was clear to the average person in town? Proposed reservation?
You can't address the solicitor directly.
Okay, I can't address the solicitor. Fine, thanks. Okay, and then B, under new business B, I'm sitting here and I'm listening to the discussion and nobody's mentioning what the land is. And if you did, I couldn't hear you when you said it. I heard something about Indians, but I've never seen that type of item listed either. It should be indicating what the lot or property is that you're seeking an application for in support of an application. I mean, you did it once for Betty Cesario, but it said on the agenda, you know, support, resolution of support for the application of, blah, 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 name the property and what it was for. And is this just a resolution in support of the application, or is the town making a commitment to being the other 50% non-federal cost share? Do we have an interest in this? And why didn't we name what the property was? Did anybody name what the property was? Okay. Anybody has the name of the property? No. Okay. Huh?
To Mr. Clifford, we can't speak to that because it kind of bleeds over from executive session, but I do believe the administrator mentioned the property.
Yeah, the administrator mentioned it,
I
but,
think he said the Indians or something like
no,
that.
he mentioned the property name, but that,
So, well then, okay, okay. I don't know, I'm nervous about how you can't, you know, if you discuss this in a closed session, then you're obviously making a commitment to put up 50% of the cost of this property, and it would have been nice to have some public hearings on it before you did that. But anyway, because the other hearings for these types of ordinances have just been, you know, for a resolution in support of. So you can support anything you want and tell the governor to, you know, well, we're in support of this. They like those types of letters. But if there's a commitment financially there, it wasn't made clear by this agenda item. And the third thing is the
Mike,
live.
I'm sorry, but are you almost all
Yep,
done?
yep.
Okay.
The third thing is the live streaming. I'd be happy to just see every group put their minutes on the Secretary of State's website instead of making people drive over to Town Hall and go through the binders that are kept in the clerk's office to try to find out if they even submitted their minutes, because they don't usually. It's no big hardship to put the minutes online. It's like a 2-minute thing, and every chairperson of every committee should be able to do it, or the secretary of every committee.
Anybody else like to get up and speak during open forum? Anyone else? All right, we're ready to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.